This little film is about the credit crunch, but it's called The Great Money Train Hijack because that's what the credit crunch really is, a hijack in progress. This is more than just garden variety crime. The masterminds behind this adventure are not just trying to take a train, they want nothing less than to hijack an entire network, the Money Train network, and more amazingly, to keep it. We can watch the crime of the century being committed in real time. Watch. Everyone who trades, who buys or sells anything, a house, a car, or even individual work power, rides on the money train. Say you want to change your house. First, you must swap your existing house for currency notes. These currency notes are really only a ticket on the money train. We ride on the money train until we find a house we like. When we've found a house we like, we swap our currency tickets back for this new house. And we have come to the end of this particular journey. Like train tickets, money notes are not actually worth anything in themselves. The value of these tickets comes from the fact that they give us permission to access a system. A train ticket allows us to access the rail system, and currency notes allow us to access the money or economic system.
Number 9, Bill.
Sharing travel time on the money train network is the way we share the economy. The more trains on the money train system at any time, the more people are taking part in and benefiting from the economy. In the last century, the European money train system was wildly disorganized and chaotic. This chaos in the flow and amount of money available helped to bring about 2 world wars. And not surprisingly, when most of us realized where the European money train led, we lost faith in the system and in the people who ran it. After the war, this self-same elite was terrified by the fact that ordinary people had little or no faith in the money train system. They grudgingly allowed more access to the money train system than had ever been given before. To rebuild support for the system, politicians encouraged us to believe that the money train would run when and where we needed it. This policy was known as Keynesianism. Keynesianism was really only a way to save as much of the pre-war financial system as possible. But in the 1970s, Keynesianism was replaced by a right-wing extreme doctrine known as monetarism. Most of the business and political elite had always hated Keynesianism. In secret, they were deeply angry and resentful that the money train network was being used to provide common benefits like housing, hospitals, schools, social security and 2 weeks paid holiday for people like us. Then the economic crisis of the 70s came along and gave these right-wing extremists the chance they'd been waiting for. Rebranding themselves as monetarists, they complained loudly and often about inflation. They claimed inflation was a social evil caused by the Keynesian policy of putting as many trains on the tracks as were needed to keep people like us more or less happy. But inflation was not the real reason monetarists were unhappy. What really made monetarists unhappy is the very idea of a rail system itself. You see, a rail system and a money system have another important thing in common. The elite don't like sharing with people like us. I don't just mean seats in train carriages, they don't want to share access to the system itself. And what makes monetarists crazy angry is central planners controlling rail economic systems on behalf of society as a whole. What monetarists really want is this. This is their secret dream of the way a perfect economy and a perfect society runs. They dream this alternative to the money train system, one which everyone uses but which no one has to share. On motorways, old slow cars go in the slow lane and new fast expensive cars go in the fast lane. If a train breaks down on a railway track, everyone has to wait until someone comes to clear the line. But when a car breaks down on the motorway, you can just pull right out into the next lane and go by. It is the cherished dream of monetarists to make the money train system into a money motorway system so that they don't have to wait in line with everyone else. So they won't be held up any longer. by people like you. 50 years after the end of World War II, the next generation of monetarists had arrived. And this generation were ready to gamble that enough people had forgotten about the problems ripening ideas cause to allow them to edge one step closer to the money motorway they dreamed of. So they started work on a network within a network. This was to be called the shadow banking system. This shadow system would not follow the rules set down for it by central planners. It would follow the rules set down for it by the monetarists. And the monetarists only had one rule. Just like a motorway, it does not matter to the system if any individual train gets to its destination or not. And everybody held up their hands in surprise and said how shocked they were that this credit crunch had happened out of the blue. And the law rushed to the scene of the crime.
Where's your warrant, flatfoot?
And the courts put monetarism in the dock. And the guilty were punished. In 2009, the shadow money train system was one big crash site. And not surprisingly, everyone was again losing faith in the money train system. After all, who would be so stupid as to get on a train while it's being hijacked and burnt out? That would be like asking Ronnie Biggs to deliver your Christmas presents. But this is not the 1950s, and the elite aren't trying to persuade ordinary people onto the money train anymore. They have another tactic. First, monetarists in central banks across the developed world have issued an unlimited supply of free tickets to the shadow banks so they can all transfer over to a first-class carriage on the main line. They call this quantitative easing. But there's still the problem of a blocked track. So now we wait. Until the line is cleared, nothing can move. If we won't pay to clear the track, then as far as the monetarists are concerned, we can all stay here. The hijack has turned into a Mexican standoff between the monetarists and the rest of us. And if we do clear the track, then the elite will soon be on their way back on the main line, already thinking of the next parallel rail track they will build. If they are allowed to get away with the first great money train hijack, they are going to repeat the heist over and over again, until there is no money train network left, only a money motorway. And they will have got what they have been working for the past 40 years. Guess which lane you're going to be in?